let's set up the iBrid Nano. Let's see. I think I'm going to put the shroud back on. I think you have to put. So in rotary mode, I like to use it without the shroud, but in DA mode, so I'm going to go long throw DA, and it doesn't really tell you anything on these things, just to help everybody out. This, and it kind of makes sense that the red one, this is the 12mm orbit, which, yeah, it doesn't say anything on it. So this is the 12mm and this is the 3mm. I generally use it in rotary, which is the little green piece, so it's direct, it's just spinning directly. Or these are going to have some, they're going to create a random orbit. So it's going to spin inside and outside. And then we'll put the little 3-inch backing, or a little 1-inch backing plate on here. I don't really find the need to use the 2-inch pad, because if I was going to use the 2-inch, where is it? This is the 2-inch with these little 2-inch pads. If I'm going to do this, I might as well just use the 3-inch. At least that's just what my experience has been. So I have these. I also have a 2-inch backing plate that I could put on my Bigfoot, on the Mini. And so we have our little tool where we can tighten down the backing plate. And then we put this in here. So again, I don't feel the need to use the shroud, this little plastic surround thing, when I'm doing rotary. But you got this metal spinning, this hunk of metal spinning around that I don't think you want to hit your paint. So I like to put the shroud back in. Actually, I think I need, yeah, not smart. So, one of the questions is, do we even need this thing? So you press the button here, it locks it in eventually as you turn it around. And I can torque the piece on. Let's screw our backing plate on here. I should probably order some more of these backing plates because these are made out of plastic, so it'll be inevitable one will break when I really need it. So there's our setup for our larger 12mm orbit. I put my little pad on and we're good to go. So the question is, do you need this thing if you're doing what I'm doing? If you're doing cars occasionally, and I think the answer is probably no. But then you probably want to adapt something for one of the other machines. And I only have the long neck version. I don't know. I guess you could buy both if you just wanted to have the ultimate setup. Maybe someday I'll buy the short one as well, but I already don't use this one all that much. So we'll probably run this. I usually run this on 2 or 3. The problem with this thing is it tends to stall out a lot. I wish it was less susceptible to stalling. All right, so we got our plastic shroud, we got our larger orbit. Let's put some polish on here and let's go work on some of the tighter areas of the truck. So I had this spot right down here where I was having a difficult time getting in. I also don't like to, I tend to prefer to sort of spread the polish on this. I usually don't put like a big dab of polish when I'm using this tool. So you can see getting all the way down here in this tight little area. Come up to 2.5. So this is much easier to use this than attempting to jam the 3-inch in there. Now you do want to be careful because this sucker still has a 12mm orbit. So a tiny little area like this Again, you want to make the equivalent of 3 or 4 passes. I don't want to sit here grinding away at this for, although it's DA, it's not going to kill it, but it's not going to cause too much damage, but you can usually do these small areas pretty quickly. Again, controlling speed like normal. Ah, dang it. So it's Thanksgiving morning. I got up at 6, made what we call Yankee stuffing because we're in the South and they make that nasty cornbread slop. So, sorry to all you Southern folk. I hate that crap. I want Chicago style Italian bread in big chunks. The stuffing is my favorite. We don't call it dressing in the North. At least I don't. We call it stuffing. All right, so that whole section's done. I'm going to go work on the front. So this is where having the Nano comes in handy. You know, doing little sections like this, where it'd be a lot harder to get the 3-inch in here. These areas are always a lot less critical on a car, where you never get down this low. But on a big truck like this, it's a lot more visible. Yeah, I feel like running on speed 2.5 seems to make sense. This is another one of those sections where, I guess you could analyze it with the light if you wanted to, but for me, I think this thing, I already know my procedure's working, so I'm fine with just rolling through this. Yeah, I'm glad I got blue. I need a blue car in my life at all times. This thing looks fantastic. So the other thing I can do is I can set up, just to speed this along a little bit here, set up little spots to grab some new polish. So now, I like to blow my pads out often, but like I said, my darn little air compressor is over at the garage, which is 20 minutes away, and I've been just sneaking a few minutes when I had some time, come out here and polish. So all I've been doing is swapping out pads. And I have a crap ton of pads because I bought a bunch. So when all the guys came to help me with my S2000 and my Gen 1 Raptor. Oops. And with this machine, I find very little need to ever apply any pressure. I feel like the 12mm orbit on this tiny little thing is massive. It gets the work done without me needing to really help it too much. I'm going to be careful here so you don't burn through the edge. You could run a piece of tape there, but again, I'm not going to focus on this too heavily. I just want to jewel it up, maybe remove any little imperfections that are here. And again, these areas are never as visible as the hood or the top of the door or something like that. Dang, this blue looks good. I already wiped this down with the eraser earlier. So you can see, you know, without this tool, these areas are a little harder to get. And this is why, you know, guys like Kevin Brown and some other pros have made different 1-inch extensions for bigger, either rotaries or bigger DA machines. There must still be an advantage to them, you know, more power, more efficiency than using the little iBrid, because lots of people are still using that. But I mean, for the amount of polishing that I'm doing, this seems to do the job. And these are areas that I would have neglected a lot in the past. Maybe that's why the few professionals that are watching me right now are just scoffing at the irony of this guy that could be making videos about detailing and never even worried about his front bumper all that much. I would say, bro, we're just washing our car here, so as much as I love this, as much as I've bet on detailing as an obsession that's now, I don't want to say paying the bills, but buying me a bunch of cool stuff anyway. The main thing for me is it's just connecting me with the world. It's probably going to drip, but that's why we got the tape. It's probably a little much. So I think from, you know, just seeing this section here, you've seen me use the iBrid, I think you can kind of make a decision. Freaking mosquitoes because it's raining. It can help you make a decision on whether you think this thing is useful in your garage or not. Now, you know, if this was an older car, or, you know, I wasn't the original owner of it, chances are sections like this are all jacked up. Which is where this will come in really handy. You know, carbon fiber pieces in the engine bay and stuff is where this thing really comes in handy. Oops. Sprayed a little polish there. I thought I put a little too much on that little tiny spot. All right, so that's polishing with the iBrid Nano. Of course, iBrid means that it's I don't know why they call it iBrid, but it's a hybrid in that you can do it battery or powered. I mean, unless you're polishing for 12 hours a day with this machine, and even if you were, you ought to be able to cycle through the batteries, you know, because it takes about 20 minutes to charge them, and the thing runs for 25 minutes or so. So the basic idea here, premise, is that you have a tool that you can use battery powered and do, you know, whatever sections on whatever car you're doing. Probably even if you're a professional, have one of these for your shop, maybe one short, one long neck, and you're good to go. But you know, I'd recommend it. I like it. I mean, it's comfortable. It's certainly well crafted. I mean, you get a bunch of crap in the box that you probably don't need, but I kind of like having complete sets anyway. But anyway, this setup, doing the large orbit DA using rotary. Again, I find it very rare that I ever need to use the smaller orbit DA. Again, I'd recommend putting the shroud on. You know, when you're using the DA blocks, these big blocks of aluminum. If you're going to do any kind of rotary, I end up taking it off so that I can get in there a little tighter. Other than that, that's a pretty sweet machine. So I'm going to put my headphones on. I'm going to crank through the rest of these sections, and I'll come back to you. I'm probably going to come back. I'm going to throw the new. I got the GoPro Hero 6. I got a head strap mount, so I'm going to shoot some 4K and maybe do some polishing from my point of view, and just kind of show you some things about edge work and how I've evolved into actually doing it properly. And gotten better at understanding how that works. So anyway, I'll see you in a little bit. Because what happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.